Welcome back. Today we're diving into the tangled mess of being a father with ADHD and anxiety. You know, when you're both the guy who forgets the lunchbox and lies awake worrying about the sandwich that you packed wasn't emotionally supportive enough. Let's go. Being a dad with anxiety and ADHD is being both the arsonist and the firefighter. You create the chaos, unintentional of course, but then also spend every waking minute trying to clean up the mess, blaming yourself for the smoke. You forget your kid's gym shoes. And it's not just a mistake, it's a spiral. Now he'll be the only one not running laps. What if that leads to teasing? What if it leads to low self-esteem? What if you just ruined the whole sense of self over Velcro sneakers? Meanwhile, ADHD is off chasing butterflies while anxiety drafts a 14-page apology letter in your head. People love to say kids need consistency, kids need a routine. Well, so do I. ADHD means my idea of bedtime routine is let's try the same thing 3 nights in a row and see if my brain treats it like a new invention every time. You try, you set alarms, you make lists, then you lose the list, then you make a digital list and forget to check the app. So you end up brushing your kids' teeth at 9:45 p.m. while both of you are wearing socks that don't match and arguing about why carrots aren't dessert. The guilt hits hard because you know they need structure, but structure feels like trying to hold a fog in your hand. Let's talk about sound, or more specifically, the way everyday parenting noise feels like a jackhammer made of guilt and crayons. ADHD makes it hard to filter noises. Anxiety makes it hard to tolerate chaos. So your kid's screaming because his banana broke in half. That's not just annoying, it's soul fracturing. There are moments you want to run, not because you don't love your kid, but because your brain is screaming with them. And then of course you feel guilty because good dads are supposed to be calm, not grounded, patient. Instead, you're heading into the bathroom Googling, why does noise make me feel like I'm dying? Every day you wake up, you think, how am I going to fail my child today? Am I going to forget this? Am I going to forget that? Am I not going to have his tablet charged for the ride to daycare? Or am I going to pack him a lunch he doesn't like? Or am I not giving enough snacks? What if he needs to trade his snacks for something else at lunchtime? All of these everyday failures are running through your head while you're not sleeping. And the lack of sleep makes you more forgetful and makes you more absent-minded. Let's just say your kid mentions dinosaurs, okay? My grandson likes dinosaurs and space, and he likes engineering type stuff, which is great. So what you do at 2 a.m. is, at 2 a.m. you start reading books about paleontology. You built a full T-Rex diorama for a school project that isn't due till next month. You hyper-focus. You feel like you need to hyper-focus to be more productive until you realize you've ignored 3 texts from your wife or your partner. You forget to eat dinner, you forget to eat lunch, and your kid has lost interest at 2 hours ago and you're doing something that they don't care about anymore. That's the punchline. You get obsessed with being the best dad for 5 hours, but then forget the permission slip for the zoo field trip. That's the whole reason they're getting in love with these animals and these things is because they're going on a field trip and you forgot to sign the permission slip. Your brain loves extremes. It doesn't do balance. It just doesn't do it. And parenting, unfortunately, is mostly balance, which makes you feel like a failure. Minute by minute, day by day, week by week, you just feel like you're failing. Let's be real. People like me, we live in our head a lot. We have that inner voice that we battle every day. You yell once, and suddenly you're rehearsing that scene like a courtroom trial. You picture your kid in therapy at 30 saying, yeah, my dad once lost it over spilled yogurt and I never recovered. I feel that every day. Sometimes when I yell at my grandson, or I think I'm yelling at my grandson, he's going to hate me forever and I'm going to have to pay for therapy because he's just falling apart. Every moment gets overanalyzed. Every lapse in judgment is a referendum on your worth as a parent. And because ADHD makes it hard to regulate emotions, you don't just feel bad, you marinate in it. You marinate in guilt. You soak it in. You build a tent. You build a fire. You roast marshmallows. Okay, you're there. You're living there. No one tells you that parenting isn't just exhausting because of the logistics. It's an emotional nightmare that every day when you wake up from it, you have a hangover because it's just so exhausting mentally. Here's something people don't say enough about dads and moms. Dads with ADHD and anxiety often love so deeply it hurts. You care if they're happy. You care if they feel safe. You care about their snacks being cut the right way so you don't feel ignored or they don't feel ignored. You show up emotionally even when it costs everything you've got. You write notes on lunch boxes. You apologize when you mess up. You say, I love you too much, and then wonder if it's not even enough. Your kids don't care about your executive functioning issues. They care about if you're there. And are you? Even when it feels like you're failing, you're showing up. That counts. More than you think. Maybe your dad never said, I'm proud of you. Maybe he showed love through silence or sarcasm, which is what I do a lot, or just absence. But you're here trying. You're telling your kids their feelings matter. You're telling and trying and being better, even while your brain is doing mental gymnastics, just to remember what day it is. The cycle breaking stuff is hard. It's not flashy. It doesn't always come with applause, but it's revolutionary in its own quiet, exhausted way. If no one told you today you're doing better than you think, your house is loud, your brain is loud, your heart is in the right place. You don't have to be the Pinterest dad. You just have to be your kid's dad. That means showing up, owning your mistakes, trying again, loving them the way you didn't always get loved. You are not broken. You're built different. And you're raising humans who will know what it feels like to be seen, even if their sandwiches are a little squished. Every day, now that my kids are older, I think to myself, did I do the right things? Did I do the right path? Did I help them grow? Did I help them succeed? Did I help them become better people? I would hold myself, and I still do, to high standards with this. And it doesn't always work. I always joke that my biggest strength is I show up. And I always thought that as a cop-out. I show up. I'm there. But it's not. Showing up is a huge, huge thing. So here's what I'm going to do. I decided to put kind of all this in a top 10 list, kind of make it easier. So as a dad, you're both chaos and the alarm system. You'll forget picture day, but your brain will sound DEFCON 1 at 3 a.m. over whether your 3-year-old is emotionally prepared for kindergarten. Okay? So you're both. You stress, you have anxiety, but yet you're still there. Time blindness plus parenting equals bedtime at 11 for everyone. You plan to structure every routine. Then you blinked, now it's tomorrow, and the toddler is still wide awake watching you spiral about missing dad time. You analyze or overanalyze every word. Did you traumatize your kid because you said not now instead of maybe later? You'll spend 4 hours worrying about that while forgetting to sign the field trip permission form. Noise is a personal attack. Screaming kids, clattering Legos, YouTube videos on full blast feel like psychological warfare when your ADHD and anxiety team up to magnify the sound. And your sensory escape room is just exploding. Hyperfocus is a double-edged sword. You can spend 5 hours researching the best toddler toothpaste with fluoride, but somehow forget to pick up your kid from school. Guilt becomes your unofficial co-parent. ADHD makes you inconsistent. Anxiety reminds you of it. You'll apologize for things that your kid didn't even notice, like breathing too loud or while helping them with their math homework, or saying a joke to break the tension. You apologize after you make the joke, even though they laughed. You love hard, like too hard. You're the dad who writes heartfelt birthday cards for a preschooler who can't read yet and cries when they say thanks, Daddy. It's embarrassing, but also kind of beautiful. You'll question yourself daily. Should you be stricter, more fun, more organized, less anxious, less forgetful, less you? The truth is, your kids want you. Weird wiring and all. You try to break the cycle. Maybe your own dad didn't talk about your mental health or their mental health. Maybe he thought emotions were optional. But here you are trying to talk to your kids, even when your brain is throwing static and guilt in every direction. You're doing better than you think. You may not have color-coded calendars with calm NPR dad voice, but you're showing up, loving hard and trying, even when your brain is a battlefield. And I think that's the point, everyone. Dads, moms, we all have different jobs as a parent. My wife is very secure. She's a rock. She's dependable. I'm dad. I'm rough around the edges, but my kids know that I care. My kids know that I show up. My kids know that I will do my best to help them in any situation. Where I get in trouble is if I can't help them, I feel guilty. And I beat myself up for it. And I give myself a lot of negative talk when I do it. I've done that not just being a dad, but being a grandfather, being a teacher, being a human. Even at church, I do it with people. Certain people, I feel like I can't. I have to give everything I've got. Sometimes all I need to do is show up. Sometimes all I need to do is be a support. But I feel like if I don't do more, then I'm failing those people. And that's a problem I've had. And growing up, I had my real father, my birth father, my stepfather, and my Uncle Tony as men in my life until I got older, teenage years. And my real father wasn't around a lot, whole craziness with that. My Uncle Tony was there, but it was on the weekends once in a while, and he showed up, we did fun things together, but there was not structure. It was just us hanging out. We stayed up all night. There wasn't structure. And my stepfather, John, did what he could, but him and I just didn't. We weren't cohabitating well together. Him and I think we just rubbed each other the wrong way. He was much better with my sisters, my older and younger sister, but with me, him and I think we just didn't get along. And so when I got older, I said, I don't want to be like this. I don't want to be like that. And of course, when you're like that, you can do one of two things: turn into that you don't want to be, or go so opposite in the extreme, it's unhealthy. For the longest time, I've gone the opposite, and I was kind of unhealthy about it. I wasn't doing it in a way that was productive for me, for my kids, for my spouse. I kind of just did what I needed to do. And if that meant I missed work, or I missed time, or I sacrificed my body because I needed to go to some school play or some activity for my kids, or just be there on a weekend and just do something with them, even though I had a million other things to do and other people had to sacrifice, I sacrificed others and myself for my kids. And while that sounds great, there's a balance that I've never been able to get. Now, I'm getting better at the balance, but I'm still not really there yet. And the balance is difficult when you have mental health struggles. When you have anxiety, when you have ADHD, you feel like you're being judged on everything you're doing. From the dinner you cook, to the birthday card you write, to how often you mention somebody in a phone call, to how often you text somebody, how often you show up, if you're doing this chore right or this chore right, if you're doing your laundry right, if you're doing the right laundry, if you're doing the dishes, if you're putting them away correctly, everything you feel you're doing, you feel like you're being looked at and judged. I felt that a lot with my kids growing up as, well, people didn't think I showed up enough, or people thought I showed up too much. I could never find the happy balance. And I think that's a struggle a lot of people have as parents. And I see it more in dads today than moms. And it could just be our societal things in this country. But as a dad, I've noticed a couple things. One, moms don't get the love from their kids the same way the dads do. Moms are seen sometimes as meaner, more strict. But honestly, that's because their care level is so high, that's how they deal with it. Dads sometimes are given the free rein to be an idiot. Their kids still love them. They still treat them well. When really, the kids don't know what's going on. They like, I know my kids a lot of times, they've struggled with relationships with my wife, not because my wife has done anything harsh. It's just because daughters and moms don't always get along. And though I'm meaner, I'm more pungent with the way I talk. They know they can manipulate me, play me, or get what they need out of me. Because I've never really said no to them. And mom does, because mom is in a healthy lifestyle and mom understands what's healthy for them and what's good for them. And dad doesn't always see that way. And I don't want to compare myself to this, but in Mrs. Doubtfire, a movie from forever ago, the Robin Williams character was the fun dad. He always wanted to do everything for his kids. He was obsessed with his kids. He was addicted to his kids. And the mom sometimes had to do the mean things, had to be the strict one. That's kind of how I feel like my relationship with my wife and kids are. Difference is I haven't gone to the extreme enough to where my wife is, divorced me. And I have had to dress up like, a British nanny. But the case is still there. Always loving your kids without any ground rules or guidelines is not healthy. Always loving your kids to the point where nothing ever, quote unquote, bad happens to them is not healthy. Kids need to fail. They need to scrape their knee. They need to learn the hardships of life. And that's hard for me to watch. But it's something that needs to happen every day. So I hope you all are enjoying this. I hope I made some sense to you. Please continue to watch. Subscribe if you haven't. I'm getting lots of views, no subscribers, but if you could subscribe, that'd be great. Like the video, all that stuff. And thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a great day.